Information communication technologies is inducing a global change, and this change is affecting nations, businesses, individuals, and society at large. Welcome to Africa's leading tech show on television with Don Pedro Aganbi. Today, we have all our regular segments featuring. Stay with us.
Could you please sign your autograph? Sorry, your signature.
My search is over, all I have ever wanted, I found in you. Everything that I need, I find it all here. Delivered with love to me, that's why I trust you totally. 'Cause happiness has set me free. I am happy, I found happiness. My heart beats to the beat of my conga. I've searched and found what makes me happy.
Conga.com, Nigeria's largest online mall.
This boy, I go tell your mama for you.
I go tell your mama for you.
Just wait, I go tell your mama for you. Make you wear your mask. If not, I go tell your mama.
From Nigeria receives the first prize in the AISI TV category for his program, ICT Africa. Congratulations, Don Pedro.
ICT Reporter of the Year Electronic, Don Pedro Aganbi.
Today, digitization is life. So every sector you see running, no matter how slow or how fast it is running because of digitization.
One thing I think that we can do and should do is move our education from a theoretical perspective to a skill-based perspective.
In case you just tuned in, this is your tech show on television with Don Pedro Aganbi, and coming up now is our tech personality of the week. Today we give you Mr. Chijioke Ezeh. In this edition, he speaks on issues around tech innovation, smart cities, and of course COVID-19. You like this. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, sir.
Please, for the sake of our viewers, can we meet you a bit up,
Okay. My name is Chijioke Ezeh. I'm an ICT professional. Been at it for over 2 decades now. And what else? I have general interest in nation development, and basically call me a Nigerian, an Afro-Nigerian, because I'm a Nigerian, I'm an African, I'm Igbo. That's just my tribe. But having done these things over the years, ICT, activism of some sort, business activism, not necessarily person to person. I've interfaced with several governments, federal, state governments on different projects, all to the benefit of all of us Nigerians and Africans at large. I've done this across, that's ICT, telecoms particularly. I've done this across, at the very minimum, over 15 countries, owing to the fact that I'm multilingual. I speak a number of languages, Nigerian and foreign languages. So.
We're in the midst of a global pandemic.
Oh yes.
What do you think that the industry have learned from this?
Well, we haven't finished learning, but at least at this initial, what I call it initial or intermediate stages, one thing is clear: ICT to the rescue. With Zoom, Teams, a bunch of them, even Facebook, WhatsApp, all of them are coming to the rescue with, providing access to people or providing resources, communication resources between homes and dwellers, between offices and staff, between different governments and the people, because whether you look at it, whichever way you look at it, rather, it's ICT that's essentially carrying the world now, with even to the point of logistics. You still require internet, you require those internet-enabled services for people to buy whatever they need to reduce human interaction and, give the world a chance to cure itself and heal itself of the effects of the pandemic. So if learnings have started to trickle in, one of the most important that I've seen is the importance of communications, telecommunications, irrespective of what ramification you're looking at, and why the government, the businesses should take themselves more seriously and take that part of our lives more seriously.
There's this general view that the tech industry really have not innovated enough in this era of, COVID, in terms of helping government, tracing, tracking, and like we see in other countries. Do you share this?
I agree to the point that not the way we've expected. The things we've expected, or we've seen in the other worlds, in the other parts of the world rather, the things we've seen there haven't exactly manifested here. And that's owing to a ton of factors. And then where I disagree is, with the very little resources we have, what we have done is tremendous. Because on the average, how many private businesses can claim any access to government-funded initiatives? Half the time, you find that these people like me, are working entirely off their own budgets and delivering what they can. So you find that a place where people build their own resources from ground zero, and then the government will turn around and say, oh, we need your assistance. When those people needed the government's assistance, they didn't get it. And at every turn of the way that the government's assistance is needed, they don't get it. And so with all that we've done, I give kudos to everybody who's in this industry, who's done tremendously. So maybe this is an eye-opener for the government to see that the more they assist these businesses, the more these businesses can in turn provide as, whether you call it public or social services, the more the government assists, the more the government will get out of this business.
What do you think that tech could have done differently?
How do you do it differently? If you have, for instance, for layman's conversations, you have 10 naira and you have a 100 naira problem. You're not going to prioritize it according to the problem. You prioritize according to your vision. Nigeria has all kinds of problems that ICT can solve. But I'm going to work from my point of view. And as a business, commerce comes first, because if I'm unable to generate revenue from my business, I will fold up. And I have no other option. I have no fallback option. I don't have a bank loan to fall to. I don't have a government initiative to fall to. Not because the government does not announce initiatives, but when you start to process those initiatives, then you know if it's lip service or an actual initiative. So businesses must always come from the point of commerce, especially SMEs, who have zero access to funding, who don't have investors' funds. Even if you did have investors' funds, you didn't seek those funds to fritter them. You sought them to deliver value to them commercially first, and then other benefits would follow, like social, public, free benefits can then follow.
Let me ask, in the midst of the pandemic, the government didn't want students to learn from home. There were two opinions. Right the way, come back to school. Another opinion, let's have it virtually, because the world has gone virtual. which of the two would you have supported? Why can't we have good e-learning system in place?
We require a paradigm shift for any major thing to happen. The pandemic caught us unawares, so we are not in control of most of the decisions we're taking. We're not taking them because we want to, we're taking them because we have to. So, if the government had known or had had time to prepare, the students themselves would have also been given all the time to try to go from paperwork to digital work. But, as I said, how many schools in Nigeria have internet? I'm not talking about the data on the phone of the principal or the teachers or the students themselves. If you walk into any government school in Nigeria, how many have internet-ready libraries? We're not talking about the whole school. Let's just start from the library, which in most cases is usually 1 or 2 rooms, or at best a building. How many do? So it's actually impossible for them to switch to e-learning overnight. The government is doing what it sees as the most practicable thing to do. Go and do the paperwork that we've always known. But hopefully as we reel ourselves out of this pandemic situation and we come back to whatever normal will be in the future, e-learning will be part of what that normal will be. That's what I see. I don't see the government doing anything out of the blue. And I also do not hold them in any way, I don't think what they're doing rather is wrong. They're doing what is available to be done right in front of them, what the situation permits.
The government has also given a lot of palliatives to sectors. We didn't hear much about the tech industry. Is that a message that from the government to say the tech industry is doing so well, so they don't really need some of its palliatives?
I think it's more ignorance than thinking that people are doing well. Because if they knew better, they would know that there's no better time to actually provide those palliatives to the tech industry. There was a CBN initiative to give up to 500 million to movie distributors or entertainment people. And then to ICT companies, you will see figures like 3 million naira. Netflix, for instance, is entertainment, but it is ICT powered. So, I am going to empower somebody to make movies, but the person who will empower the movie maker to reach everybody is the one I don't empower. It's akin to generating power, but there are no transformers to receive the power in the homes. So you're generating power to waste. It's as simple as that. So how is it that the tech industry, that is the ultimate enabler of today's life, is the least funded in the economy? How is it then that you want the economy to grow? It's not the most brilliant of decisions, if you ask me.
Whose fault is this? Government?
It's a combination. It's a combination. The government has its role to play. The agencies have their roles to play. The businesses themselves have their roles to play. Gone are the days where we would want to exist in obscurity. At this time, we should come out. We should speak up. Because if you need the government to help, then you should tell the government where you need the help and why you need the help. And then be able to show the effects of the help, the positive effects. So it's no longer enough to sit in your office, wherever it is, and do your thing or complain about what the government is doing or not doing. I don't think that's something we should continue to do. We should change, and then we also need to engage the government better. Unfortunately, half the time the people we're engaging haven't even understood the technologies of today, and we are trying to catch tomorrow's technology. So there's always that gap, which is not very easy to communicate, to somebody who's struggling to understand even the most basic forms of technology. So it's communication technology, I must say. So it's we all have our faults, but the money comes from a certain source. The users are at a certain place. One of the things that we would at least expect the government to start to do would be to ask. It's good to say, oh, we've earmarked 500 billion or 1 trillion for this. If you're offering 1 trillion for when you need 100 million, that's already an overkill. But if you're offering 100 million when you need 1 trillion, that's either lack of resources or ignorance. And I don't think it's entirely about lack of resources. And this is not exactly an accusation. You could also call it an innocent error, where they do not know. Honestly, they don't know. They don't have that kind of exposure. So we need to continue to have this engagement back and forth, to bring them up to speed and to also avail ourselves to them.
Lately, smart cities have been on the front burner.
Yes.
Almost every state governor talking about smart city, smart communities. What's your concept, or what's this whole buzz about smart city? How do you define smart city?
As opposed to defining, I would rather describe a smart city where it's self-sufficient, where it is almost self-managed. But however you look at it, the basis or the basic elements required in a smart city, two things: electricity, constant electricity, and high-speed internet. Because if you're talking about a connected world, you're talking about the internet. And the internet is nothing without electrical power. So you can have tarred roads, you can have good hospitals. If you do not have electricity, then the hospitals can't perform surgeries. Then the street lights won't work. Then the traffic lights won't work. At which point traffic congestion will no longer matter whether the road is good or not. You're stuck on the road anyway. A village with electricity and high-speed internet is already smart. The children in villages like that can go to school just by getting to wherever is designated, or by sitting at home and having phones or tablets supplied to them by either the government or benefactors to just go to school. It's as simple as that. When we talk about smart cities, we don't necessarily mean skyscrapers and all kinds of, buildings and stuff. No. These two basic things they smarten everything up. But as of today, Lagos is a city. It's a metropolis. It's not a smart metropolis. It's not.
Why do you think so?
Because these two things are not there. You don't have constant electricity, and you also don't have high-speed internet generally available to everyone. So you can't call it a smart city. I recognize the efforts of the government, of the state government. Recently, we've seen all kinds of cables dug up, the ground dug up in different places. Cables are being laid. Whether it's the state who's behind it, or whether it's private companies behind it, as long as you have the internet, that's what's required. So if the state's job in all of this is just to allow right of way for companies to invest more and deliver value, okay, that's good enough. But until we get to that point where more than 50% of the populace have access to these things, then we can say that we are achieving the status of a smart city.
Where does the national broadband plan come in all of this?
The national broadband plan is the government's plan. It's something the government cannot, and speaking categorically, can never achieve by itself without the involvement of private businesses. And it requires collaboration from the top to the bottom, from the federal government, state government, local governments, municipalities, and the private businesses involved in those various locations. So the broadband plan is one thing. It's all talk and paper until the businessmen get into the trenches of this plan and start to actualize them. Somebody's going to lay the cable, it costs money. Somebody's going to put the masts, it costs money. All of those things are things that will be done by private businesses, not the government. What the government can do is ensure that the enabling factors are made available to the people who will do these jobs.
Still talking about smart city and see that yes, there might be some states in Nigeria right now who are, currently, on the verge of actually say that they are everything smart city.
On a state level, no state can boast of it. No state, and I'm speaking categorically. I don't need research for it. I've traveled across Nigeria well enough and recently enough to say this confidently. However, what I would say is that some states are making the attempt, and in some other states, what you have would be estates springing up. In some cases, you have the government behind some of these estates, residential and business, industrial estates springing up here and there, encouraging people to move to more organized living conditions, basically. Because moving from a traditional Lagos environment like Mushin, no disrespect to Mushin, but moving from a place like Mushin, generally speaking, and moving to just next door to Surulere, and then you have estates coming up. Or a better example, Eric Towers is a government building. Only God knows how old the buildings are. But when people try to replicate such living conditions on a widespread basis, it's easier to provide the resources to enable smart living in such conditions than where people just bought land, built houses, and lived in whatever conditions they created for themselves. It's easier when it's organized. Let's use Abuja, for example. Abuja is a very organized city. It's easier to smarten, let me use the word smarten, to smarten Abuja up than Lagos, because the bulk of Abuja is developed in an organized manner. Estates here and there, municipalities, zones, cadastral zones, all kinds of organized living. It's easier to achieve it. But even Abuja itself cannot boast of smart living, because not everywhere in Abuja has access to high-speed internet. So if you talk about the most organized city in Nigeria, and it's lacking in that regard, how then would any state, Lagos being number one in Nigeria, it can't lay claim to it. If not, anybody who thinks that they are there, all they need to do is get into their car and drive. Drive through Mushin, drive through Ikorodu, drive through Shomolu, drive through Jibo, Fadi, Onipan, drive through some of these neighborhoods, even Victoria Island, Ikoyi. How many times are you going to drive through there, or have you even seen, organized efforts to provide this service? Everybody goes and draws what they like from wherever. I might have service provider A, and you have service provider B, and somebody else has C. It's not exactly organized. We all just are connected whichever way. But when it is organized, it's a thing where the competition is to the best of it, where today I'm on A, like your number portability. If network A does not satisfy my needs, I move to network B. So when we start to get to that level of high-speed internet, where I don't have to sacrifice, today if I choose to not use a certain service provider anymore, when I get to the next service provider, I'll buy everything that I'm abandoning all over again. And all of them come at about the same installation cost, between 25 and 70,000, depending on the terminal in use. Why can I not just switch from service provider to service provider, the way I take my SIM card and slot in another SIM card, or the way I just move from this network to another network? Because it's the same hardware across. So we have quite a way to go. I don't want to say a long way. We have quite a way to go with regards to Lagos and Abuja. But for the rest of the other states and cities, I think the journey for them is much longer than Lagos and Abuja. People are oblivious of the fact that ICT is the oxygen of Nigeria's economy. We are the reason Nigeria still exists. Take out communications from Nigeria, will there be a Nigeria? Take out MTN, take out Airtel, take out Glo, take out 9 Mobile, take out Main One, take out all the ISPs. There will be no Nigeria. ICT is the reason Nigeria exists.
Wow, that was our tech personality of the week, Mr. Chijioke Ezeh. Of course, he's a tech expert in all ramifications.
Could you please sign your autograph? Sorry, your signature.
My search is over, all I have ever wanted, I found in you. Everything that I need, I find it all here. Delivered with love to me, that's why I trust you totally. 'Cause happiness has set me free. I am happy, I found happiness. My heart beats to the beat of my conga. I've searched and found what makes me happy.
Conga.com, Nigeria's largest online mall.
I'm afraid that's our time will allow us this week. For comments and observation, please reach us on the numbers and emails now showing on your screen. You can also see this on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the production crew, thanks for watching. Same time, same station. I'll be back next week.